Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about player replacements. All right, so I'm watching a great classic film called The Replacements. It's Keanu Reeves and I forget the main coach guy. He was in a movie called The Conversation, which was really great. Gene Hackman, right? And basically this movie is about an NFL. I don't think they say the NFL for the NFL. It proxies the NFL, but I think it's essentially like, what if the NFL went on strike and they played with entire teams' replacement players? Now, one of the things that's terrible is because American unions often use the term scab. It seems like they used it in this movie. Like, you can't just say that about people. I don't understand how that's a thing in America, but it seems to be. All right, so they said, like, essentially they were saying they were scab players, which is a terrible way to term it, but they were replacement players, and they were replacing strike players, right? And, like, especially, like, it's so, like, pro-union. Like, I don't think everybody's pro-union. It's very strange. So, but the whole point was, like, and then they bring on all these scrub players, but they turn out to be amazing, right? And I've been thinking a lot about replacement players, right? So one, I'm not in a position where I need to replace any of the players at my table. We have this great game that's going on Sundays, and but I've been thinking about it a lot, and I'm moved. I think every single day about Gary Gygax. It's just a fact, right? It's a fact of my life. I live, like, a lot of the choices I make in my life are based on what Gary did, right? And so one of the things he did was he had the basement, right? It's very famous. So there's a basement in his home, and basically they would have multiple nights a week where people would just come out and they would fill the basement, and there could be 2 or 3 games going on. There might be a game upstairs in the kitchen table and a game downstairs, right? And right now, I have this Sunday game, and I literally have the same type of house as Gary Gygax. My house is the same, right? Floor 1, basement, floor 2. And it's literally the same size. Oh, there is one difference between my house and Gary's, and that is mine's a duplex. It's attached, literally physically attached to another house that's the same, right? So, but if you look at my house, it's literally the same size and has the same layout as Gary's. And right now, right, back in the day, back in like 1972, 1973, 1974, 1975, Gary's balling out in his home, and he's got a game upstairs at the kitchen table and a game downstairs in the basement, right? And and they had their own physical spaces, and then players could flow between them, right? So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm like, I'd like to do that. I want my house, like right now, Sunday night, there are no less, on the worst night, there's 3 of us, 1 DMing and 2 playing, and on the most full night, we have 4 players and 1 DM, right? But I've been thinking, hey, I want to grow this, and I want to have, I want to fill the basement table too, right? And so having between 8, on the worst night, 8 people in the house, and on the best night, 14, right? Like, or actually, I think I'd scale to 12. I think I'd want, I don't think I'd go over 12, right? But, and have 2 games going at once, and players can switch between the 2, right, with different player characters, or maybe even the same characters, right? Portals and like clones and a million other weird ways you could, like, you can pretty much, that's the great thing about D&D. Whatever you want to play, you can play it. Like, the magic gives you an excuse to structure the world in a narrative way, and it's really amazing. It's just an amazing thing. It's really quite amazing, right? So I've been really thinking about adding players. But I've gotten a lot of pushback from whenever I bring this idea up to my players, none of them like it, right? And the reason why, I think, is they want us to continue to grow together and have deep games. And also, when you bring in new people, sometimes they're absolute rock stars and everybody loves them, and sometimes they're the worst beasts, and it takes weeks or months to get rid of them, if you can ever get rid of them, right? Because it's hard playing. You can't just say to a person, hey, you suck, leave. Right? I can't. I'm a decent human. I'm a civilized human being. I'm not going to say that. I feel it or think it, but like, and my current player crew is very nice. I'm very blessed to have the players I have, right? And so, but if we open it up and we start recruiting, right, we can get some bad apples, right? You know what I'm saying? right? But sometimes you're going to get like a Granny Smith, like something's really special, like. So that's the whole point, right? And one of the other things, and the reason why we're talking today is I want you guys to know I really strive for transparency. I tell you all the time, do this. It's the right way, right? And because I do that and I say, this is the wrong way, this is the right way, it demands I be transparent, and I try to be transparent, okay? And so one of the things is I have been failing to live up to one of my pieces of advice, which is get the best players you can get and don't play with your friends. And one of the things that's been happening recently is my D&D group, we are becoming closer friends. One of the things I'm realizing with friends is like, I think with friends, you do something you enjoy, but when the friendships goes deeper, you do things you don't enjoy, right? And so sometimes we'll just get together and we'll do something that one friend wants to do that nobody else is into, and more we're spending more time together, and it's just, we're growing stronger friendships, right? And that makes it harder for me to be like, the next time we go to this new campaign, I'm shedding this bad player, right? And so I really believe, if you want to be a top tier DM, you should be playing with the best players you can possibly attract to your game, and you should be willing to lose, and because there is very distinct times where your best friends are your worst players, right? So if you want to be a top tier DM, and if you want to prioritize Dungeons and Dragons, you should be playing with your best possible players that you can attract to your game, and that's how you build tier 1 Dungeons and Dragons games. And I have been failing at this. I've been falling back into being better friends with my D&D players, and I just wanted to share that and be transparent. But I've also really thinking about this, building out the Gary, kitchen table upstairs gaming, another game running downstairs, the whole house filled with gaming on any given night. And I'm wondering, and my players are really kind of against this. They just feel like we're going to end up getting bad apples. Who's right? Are my players right? And we have enough, we have a great game rolling, let it stand, or do we do what I'm saying and build out this second table, and just trust that my players will stick around, and this risk will work. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm not really sure which direction to go. Love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.